Hey, this is Micah Morris, and this is my lesson plan for MAOL 530. This lesson is over combining like terms with expressions, and it's going to be a little bit different because I'll be acting out both parts of student and teacher because the opening is a little bit of a group activity. So as the teacher, what I would first do is I would give the students 16 poker chips, 4 of each color. We've got a blue, which is kind of similar to the color of black here. They're a little bit different. A red, and then a green as well. And so you get 4 of each color, 16 total. And I would start the activity by telling students to take their 16 poker chips and to organize them into groups. You might see students do different things like having a stack of each color, or I don't know, maybe trying to make like a leaning tower of poker chips, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But hopefully, one of your groups here will lay out their stacks something like this. We notice that we've got all of our blacks in one stack, all of our blues, all of our reds, and then all of our greens. And so we would go through, as the teacher, I would go through the groups and highlight a group or groups that had them stacked by color. After that, I would then give more information and say the value of the poker chips. The red chips are worth $5. The blue chips are worth $10. The greens are worth 25, and the blacks are worth 100. I would then tell the students to organize their chips in a row, like 4 in a row right here, in any way they want, but there's got to be some order to it. And so hopefully, if the students are trying to be orderly here, especially after knowing their value, you'll see something like this. I've got my smallest value of chips at $5, 10, 25, and 100. It'd be then at this point that I would stop and summarize the activity, saying that combining like terms are a lot like the poker chips. We combine like terms by doing similar things. The reds are with the reds, the blues are with the blues, greens are with the greens, blacks are with the blacks. Just like how X's combine with X's, Y's combine with Y's, and so on and so on. Also, the way that we have these ordered out, we've got these from least to greatest. With combining like terms, we write out our answer in a certain way. It has to be alphabetical order. So if you have an X, a Y, and a Z, you would write those out in alphabetical order for your answer. The X's would go first, Y's, Z's, and then some constant at the end. After this activity with the poker chips, we would then collect them up and then take a very short paper note and or some paper notes and examples. And I'm going to share my screen so you can see what those look like. That's not what I wanted to do. Give me 1 second. It's been a hot minute since I've done a Google Meet. Oh, there it is. There's the share screen button. Entire screen. And here's my notes example. Now, one thing that I mentioned in my lesson plan is that one thing that helps me work in these examples is doing some color coding here. Now, it's a little bit harder to do on the computer. I teach with an iPad. It's easier to change my pen colors to be red or blue or green, whatever I'd like to do. So here I'm going to have to try and do some highlighting. In this first example, we've got 2x plus 6x minus 9. And so if I'm going to be color coding, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this 2x. I don't know, let's just choose the color green. And I would ask the class, are there any other x's we can combine it with? And we could say, yes, there's a 6x right there. And I would highlight that as a green and say, all right, well, what is 2x plus 6x? Well, that would combine to 8x. And again, if I'm doing this in my pen, it would all be colored in green. So we get all of our greens together there. Well, this minus 9 at the very end, we can give it a different color. Let's say that's blue. And did this minus 9 have anything to combine with? No, not at all. So it's just going to go on at the very end. And I should have done there. Yeah, so now we got 2 different parts of our answer. I probably should have highlighted that minus 9 in a slightly lighter color, but the color coding is important here. Just like the poker chips, where those are color coded, here the students are able to see what can be grouped together and what are like terms. Let's jump down to a different example here. Let's go to number 3. Actually, no, let's do something a little bit harder here. Let's go all the way down to 4. So I've got a 12x right here. Let's keep the x's as the color green here. I'm gonna make that green. I'd ask the class, are there any more problems or terms, numbers or terms in this problem that also have an x? And hopefully they would say, yes, we've got a minus 8x right here. I'm gonna highlight that green. And the 12x minus an 8x, that's gonna combine to a 4x right there. So I'm gonna jump down, get that first part of the answer is a 4x. Again, remembering to highlight that in green, keeping those colors together, keeping like terms the same here. All right, after that, I would then go back to my problem and say, all right, the next thing that I see that go in alphabetical order is this Y. And let's make a little bit of a lighter blue there. I've got a 7Y right there. Are there any other Ys that I can combine with this? And hopefully the class would say, yes, I've got a minus 3Y right here. I'm going to highlight that in the color blue. All right, so I've got my blue, I've got my positive 7Y, my negative 3Y, or minus 3Y, however you'd like to phrase it. Those would combine to a positive 4Y. And again, I'm going to change this to my color of blue. All right, going back to the original problem now. I've got this minus 6 right here. I'm going to go ahead and just assign that a color. Let's see if I can make it a light red. We'll go with that right there. All right, I've got a minus 6 right there. Are there any other terms that combine with that regular old 6? Yes, we have this regular old number 10 right here. So I'm going to make that the light red as well. I've got a negative 6 plus 10. That's going to combine for a positive 4. And again, I'm going to highlight that to be the color light red here. And again, students are able to see with the color coding here that my green X's all come together, my blue Y's all come together, and my red numbers, they're called the alphabetical order with your numbers, your constants at the end. After doing these 4 examples, students would then receive a 5-question exit slip that would be very similar to these problems worked right here. And that's my MAOL 530 lesson.